Hi everybody, this is Miss Ray from the Great Falls Public Library, and it is time for another Dr. Seuss story time. I am so glad you're here. Today we're going to read The Lorax. It's a classic for a reason. So, before we get into it, since this is a long one, let's have a quick stretch and then we'll start our story. So, here we go. Reach for the ceiling, touch the floor. Stand up tall, let's do some more. Touch your head, then your knees, then up to your shoulders like this, you see. Reach for the ceiling, touch the floor. That's all there is. There isn't any more. All right, let's read it. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. There's the Lorax standing on a tree trunk. I wonder where he came from. There's the Lorax again, peeking out from a tree. Move this down just a little bit. There we go. Just want to make sure we have our picture all the way in the frame. Here we go. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, there is the street of the lifted Lorax. There's a street sign. It says, the street of the lifted Lorax. I wonder what that means. Lifted. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. Right there. And what was the Lorax, and why was it there, and why was it lifted and taken somewhere from the far end of town where the grickle grass grows? And the old Onceler still lives there. Ask him. He knows. That's the Onceler's house. Pretty creepy, huh? Have to be pretty brave to go knock on that door. You won't see the Onceler. Don't knock at his door. Don't knock at his door. He stays with his lurmkin on the top of his store. He lurks in his lurmkin, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dark midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters. And sometimes he speaks and he tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you, perhaps, if you're willing to pay. Do you see the Onceler peeking out from his shutters? Can you see his eyeballs? On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail and the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail. Do you have the shell of a great-great-great-grandfather snail just laying around at your house? I do not. Then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you've paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hole in his his secret strange hole in his groovulous glove. Sorry. Groovulous is not a real word. It's made up, but it's an interesting word. I wonder what groovulous means. You can think about that. When he grunts, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell you are for your ears alone. Whisper my phone. Slurp, down slurps the whisper my phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have to come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Buzz. Now I'll tell you, he says, as his teeth sound gray, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, a long, long time back. Whoa. Look, the colors changed. Look how gray. But then we go back in time and whoa, what colors do you see? There are all of these gorgeous truffula trees, and some of them are red, some of them are yellow, orange, pink, purple. The grass is green, the sky is blue. Ooh. Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swoomy swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place. At first I saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. That looks nice. That reminds me of springtime. Are you ready for springtime? Me too. And under the trees I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffula fruits. From the rimpless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming and splashing around. So there are the barbaloots, and there are the humming fish. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I just knew what I had to do. I unloaded my cart. And in no time at all, I had built a small shop, and I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop. And with a great skillful skill and a great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. That's the thneed. It's kind of like a sweater. How many arms does that sweater have? It's got 3 arms or 3 legs. I'm not really sure. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazump, and I looked, and something popped out of the stump. It's the Lorax. I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. And I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed, What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I just chopped down one tree, and I'm doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt. It's a sock. It's a glove. It's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth that would buy that fool thneed. But for the very next minute, I proved he was wrong, for just then a chap came along, and he thought that the thneed I had knitted was great, and he happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You're poor, stupid guy. You never can tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shh, if you please. I rushed across the room in no time at all, built a radio phone, And I put in a quick call. I called on my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, listen here, there's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. They were all knitting thieves, just as busy as bees, and to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh, baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. What is he doing here? It's like a car with blue gears for wheels, and look, lots of, what are those? Axes to cut down the truffula trees. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off the 4 truffula trees and 1 smacker. We were making feeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked at my new office door. Oh, I bet he's not happy. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. I am also in charge of the brown barbaloots who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round, and my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them go, but business is business, and business must grow, regardless of the crummies in tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory. I biggered the loads of the things I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs. I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax. He coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled and he snargled and he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a kerfacious croak. Onceler, you're making such a smogless smoke. My poor swoomy swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in his throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog. You've been smoggled up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about the glippity-glop. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making glippity-glop and also schloppity-schlop. And what do you do with all this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. Ooh, it's all in the pond. You're glupping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed, so I'm sending them off. Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. Even the fish left. Wow. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say, bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and biggering. turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree, and then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. The very last tree. They cut down all the trees. No more trees, no more thneeds, no more work to be done. So in no time at all, my uncles and aunts, everyone, waved me goodbye. They jumped into cars and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now, all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. Everybody left. Everybody left but the Onceler and the Lorax. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance. He just gave me a very sad backward glance as he lifted himself from the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grim look on his face as he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. Look, the Lorax lifted itself away. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks and one word: unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was a long time ago, and each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my building has fallen apart. I have worried about it with all of my heart. What do you think unless means? I think we might find out. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Are you ready? Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So, catch, calls the Onceler, and let something fall. It's a truffula seed. The last one of all. The very last truffula tree seed. Oh, wow. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and the truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack, and then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. And that's the very, very end of the story. So, we need to plant that truffula seed, don't we? I hope you liked that story. We'll be back next week with another awesome story. And thank you so much for watching. And of course, if you'd like to join us for story time in person, that's Wednesday and Thursday mornings at 10:30. That's for kids 2.5 to 5. For toddlers, babies and toddlers, birth to 2.5, we have toddler time on Fridays at 10:30. So I hope that you can join us. Have a wonderful week, my friends. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.